Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fiction Game. If you missed last week, well, you got a lot of catching up to do. Suffice it to say that our adventurers have entered a dungeon. But when you visualize adventurers entering a dungeon, you've probably got the wrong image in mind. See, you're probably visualizing a labyrinth created by presumably a crazy person is who creates all the dungeons that adventurers go into. That's just a maze of monsters and traps and hordes of treasure. When I say dungeon, what I mean is they're in jail. Our four heroes: Alberth, as played by Hayden; Greyson. I'll cover the classes. I want to do that with more of the intros. Alberth, who is a druid slash servitor, played by Hayden again. Greyson, who is a warlock, unbeknownst to the rest of the party, not to the players, but to the rest of the party, a warlock and demon hunter, played by Tom. William, who is a half angel blood mage, played by Miles, and Merigold, who's a pretty straightforward mage who also has some other talents like buskery and being rich that just haven't come up as often as him being a mage recently with our most recent arc. He's played by Sam over in the far corner there. I'm your narrator, as always, Jack. Getting right into it, you guys have been in jail for 3 days. Now, these 3 days, or this jail is actually the first thing we should talk about. You guys have been escorted to these dungeon cells that are four walls, obviously, but in each of them, 2 of the walls are made of stone, and 2 of them are made of not just iron bars, but like an iron lattice kind of thing. But like a thick, heavy chain link fence, basically. But very sturdy. You've tried. Makes up 2 of these, and these cells are in groups of 4, so that you are like the corners facing one another, so that the prisoners aren't excessively isolated, because that can lead to some pretty bad results pretty quickly. So, they basically just put people into these to fill them up, and so Elway, William, Yasika, and Lion are in one of these little like quadruplets of cells. Alberth and Greyson are kitty corner to one another, like facing across the way, along with another prisoner named Nell, who's spoken to you very little, and the 4th cell is unoccupied. Merigold is in a set of 4 cells with only one other cell occupied, a man who has, throughout these 3 days, refused to give you his name. These cells are not only more comfortable than the average like peasantry cells we talked about. You guys were sent to the nicer cells because you're generally rich, noble, or important in some way, but also because these cells are set up in such a way that when you are escorted in, they actually pulled up the bricks surrounding each of your cells and filled them with various materials. In particular, Marigold's cell, for example, was lined with a small amount of low-proof alcohol, as well as salt, because they know him to be a mage and they suspect him to be a warlock. These rings, depending on your level of power, either dampen or fully nullify your powers. Marigold is finally such a powerful mage that being trapped in a ring of alcohol, or the mysterious metal which you have yet to identify that nullifies mage powers, being trapped in that ring now fully nullifies Marigold's mage powers. However, Greyson, for example, kind of a fledgling warlock. He's great at a lot of things, but he's not like in the upper echelons of being a warlock. His powers are only dampened, not completely limited. So paradoxically, the more powerful of a caster you become, the more affected you are by these bane auras. Hope that all tracks. The first thing that Marigold notices about these rings made of these materials surrounding these cells, in case the cogs of your brains are already turning, thinking about how to circumvent these limitations, Marigold's cell is lined with salt and alcohol. However, William's cell isn't lined with alcohol. There would be no reason for William's cell to be lined with alcohol. And as a result of the proxy spell casting spell that Marigold had cast on William, he is able to cast from William unimpeded. However, he can't see what he's casting at. So, yeah, Marigold has a blind casting, and yeah, the rest of you are sent to, yeah, cells that specifically inhibit your powers. Worth noting, they do not send William to a cell lined with citrus oils or with brass. They don't limit his angelic powers whatsoever because they know that he doesn't have spells. He just has kind of passive abilities. They know that. They're not worried about it. However, they did take away his circlet because it could be sharpened and used as a weapon. And as a result, William's broken halo is just visible at all times. And so this little foursome of him and Elway and Yasuka and Lion, who you recently discovered doesn't have hair, but has these weird flower petal growths in replacement for hair, it is the strangest set of four cells, at least visually, going on maybe in the entirety of these catacombs that are under the throne room and the meeting hall of the capital of Telmeri. Yeah, I think that's everything you need to know visually about like what's going on in the dungeon, the whole setup. Oh, one more thing. Alberth, while they do have something limiting your druid powers, which make me a perception check to see what they lined the outside with, because you could actually learn something from the measures that they're taking against you right now. They lined everyone's with salt, of course, because they're now not sure which one of you is a warlock. In fact, none of you are sure if any of you is a warlock, because it's obvious that Merigold was being framed, but then did they switch to framing Greyson? Or was Greyson a warlock and it was just the modified Banefinder that registered him not as a warlock? Greyson's status is in the air for everyone except for Greyson right now. And now, let's see. Oh, in addition, while the party knows that Alberth is both a druid and servitor, it is only apparently the king only knows him to be a druid. You're not sure exactly who his source is on any of this. Presumably his wife, the queen, who's sent you out on quests before, even though it's never. I think it's come up in the grand meeting hall that Alberth is a druid. But regardless, they've prepared against Alberth's druid abilities. His druid abilities are gone, but your servitor powers remain to you. So. Nice. With that very, very complex jail system set up, I knew I had to give you the limitations up front, because I know you're going to be thinking about how to circumvent all of these the whole time. So that's the groundwork. That's what's going on. It's been 3 days, like I said, since your hearing with the king, and you guys were sent to the dungeon so that a full investigation could be carried out. To determine if any of you is a warlock, and if so, if this like demon happening and the murder of these 4 inheritors can be traced back to you somehow. Upon coming down here, you were confident that the truth would set you free. However, it's been a while now, and it feels like you should have heard something. In the meantime, how do you think you guys have been spending these 3 days? You get regular meals, you get regular outings to like a sort of courtyard area, but you're watched very carefully by guards who have psychic training and the ability to use that spell choke ability. So if you guys are seen casting, there are ways that they will at least try to stop you from doing so. What do you think you guys have been up to in the last 3 days as to how you're interacting with your fellow prisoners, how you are planning an escape or planning to help with the investigation, and who you've been attempting to communicate with on the outside via letters or couriers? Let's start with Alberth. What you been up to? If anything. Yeah.
His immediate thought is to try and reach out to Hmm. Tough. Well, no, his immediate thought would be reach out to our good old friend, the former left hand of the queen, to see if she can come and set things straight, because I feel like she would be able to. Um, he doesn't know her address, but hopefully she'd just be around. If not, like, please send to queen to forward to something like that. Um, but after sending that off, I think he would just want to get to know Grayson, just like talk to him, ask him. Like, Alberth actually would have a question, like, Grayson, how did you remind me how you got wrapped up in all of this? Were you looking to fight the demon and just fell in with us who also happen to be fighting this demon?
Am I muted? No, okay. Who Grayson has sort of come to a point where the lies are sort of running out of places to go. And so Grayson sort of has decided he's just gonna I mean I guess the Hand of the North has told him that he's supposed to build his renown as a solo demon hunter, so he's just gonna say, yeah, so I've been trying to keep it on the down low, but I did actually seek out Yasuka, and I'm pretty sure it was Yasuka at the beginning,
Yes.
because I'd heard rumors of a demon, and so I was actively pursuing the demon that we've been hunting, and just happened to fall in with the rest of you, I guess.
Yes. As a review
Lucky
for
for us.
players and viewers, Grayson did come to the capital because he saw a vision, which occasionally happens for casters, especially when the vision has something to do with their particular field of otherworldly power. Grayson saw a vision of three eyes, two of them crossed out, but one of them still intact, staring down at the capital, and in particular menacing over a short man in a red jacket who he soon discovered to be Alberth, which makes sense because Alberth knows a secret that he shares with Merigold about demons that they don't want other people to know. So that's how Grayson got involved in all of this. In addition to which, I think deciding to base what you tell Alberth off of the backstory that the Hand of the North are creating for you is a deeply in-character decision. I love that. I'm going to give you a luck point, which is good because I think you are plumb out of luck points
Yep.
as of the end of last session. I think they were all well used, but you have another one now for the future. Very good. Anything else that Alberth has been doing these 3 days? Has he been burrowing or Shawshank?
No, I think he would definitely, like you said, just be kind of waiting, like pretty sure everything's going to be fine. Like, we know we didn't do it. So he would kind of be just probably mentally just back in his workshop, like thinking of what he's going to do as soon as he has the chance to get back and get the tools going.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And along those lines, you actually receive a letter from Simsel, who you may or may not remember as the merchant who came to you wanting to sell your crossbows to traveling merchant caravans. You ended up deciding to make two products, one for nobility that was bigger and bulkier and made of nice mahogany wood that would sell for a lot, and then a much more affordable version that would be sold exclusively to traveling merchant caravans as a bandit deterrent, hoping to reduce the amount of violence in the world as a result of this weapon invention. The gun, for those of you following along at home. I'm not going to explain it every time. It's just going to start having less and less context. It's a gun. So, yeah, Simsel sends you this message and says, like, hey, I know you were still working on prototyping all of this. If there's anything that I can do to help maintain your workshop or like pursue your vision while you're in there, then let me know and I can like get access to the workshop and keep things going in your absence. So yeah, if there's anything in particular you send back to him, like, don't do that. I don't want you go rifling through my stuff, or like, yeah. Yeah. So that is the correspondence which you receive. Grayson.
Cool.
what about you? In these last 3 days, is there anything that you've been doing to plan an escape to correspond with the outside? What's Greyson up to?
Grayson is not really thrilled about being here. I mean, partially because he's the only person here that really stands a chance of being proved guilty in this scenario, but also he's getting flashbacks of young Grayson also sitting in a jail cell and really not enjoying this, reoccurrence. And so he's starting to plan, he's figuring out how escape would be possible. And then 2 other things. Do I still have the ring that I stole from one of the inheritors? Or where did that end up?
You managed to
He put it
tuck
back
that
in his pocket.
under. Wait, say again?
I thought he put it in one of the guard's pockets. Maybe I'm remembering wrong.
I think that was right. I just wanted to make sure.
I did give the guard's pocket as an example of somewhere that you could put this, but that would mean you would lose the ring. And you rolled extremely well, I believe, at the end of at the end of last session. I haven't uploaded the video yet, so I could be wrong about that, but I think the best explanation would be that Grayson actually, as they were being escorted out of this grand hall, found a loose brick behind which he tucked the ring. So it is stashed in the throne room, waiting for you to retrieve it when you want it.
All right.
Yeah.
See, so cool. And then the last thing, Grayson, it's tricky because he wants to reach out covertly to the Hand of the North, but the problem is they don't know he's a warlock. But I guess no one does at this point. I think for now he'll reach out to the Hand of the North as covertly as possible, if that's possible. I assume there's some way to do that without, spelling out like, hey, secret organization that hunts demons. If that's possible, he'll reach out and explain the scenario that he's in and see if they can help.
We are of the same mind thinking about communicating with the Hand of the North, because they actually write you correspondence in jail as well, basically saying this has become pretty high profile, and if we were to intervene in any obvious way, then it would be bad news. So basically, we're not gonna jailbreak you out of this place, but we are watching the investigation and getting a person on the inside of what's going on there. And we'll let you know what we find out about these altered Bane finders and like the stuff that you apprise them of. They go, that's great actionable information, and we'll be reaching back out to you soon. So you have people on the outside working towards this. It's worth noting you're keeping a secret from those people on the outside as well. So Grayson is in an elaborate web of lies. But so far, can I just say, I'm very surprised by how long Grayson has kept his status in a secret organization and his being a warlock a secret from so many moving parts. It's been masterful to watch. Excellent. Perfect. Marigold, what have you been doing these last 3 days? I realized I said that this guy across the across the way from you in the opposite cell has not yet told you his name, but there are ways that Marigold has of getting information from people. So I should probably hear what you've been doing for these 3 days before I say you still don't know this guy's name. So yeah, what's Marigold been up to?
Well, it definitely involves Grayson, so maybe I should wait till he gets back. But, okay, I'm assuming Marigold doesn't have access to alcohol. Since receiving the proxy spell, Marigold has been drinking much more than usual, and as a result, he spent less time critically thinking about the world in which he lives. But he is a busker who is intimately familiar with the shape of stories, and as he is off of alcohol for a longer time than he's been used to, he begins to think once again about the way that he classifies things in the world. Now, in the simulation that Marigold is convinced that he exists within, he kind of unconsciously labels people as either player characters or non-player characters. He firmly believes himself to be the protagonist of the story. He's kind of got his one weapon, his compel indiscretion, his Expelliarmus, his Dracaris, if you will. This is his only means to impact the plot. And he kind of, in the past, assumed that everyone else was a non-player character that surrounded his orb of protagonist plot. But since he tried to cast Compel Indiscretion on William, and Elway got really, really angry, he's kind of changed the way he classifies things. And he now thinks of the entire party, including, like, in our world, the non-player characters, Elway, Yasuka, all of them as player characters. But after seeing that, what is it called, the Banefinder tick off on Greyson, he now believes Greyson to be a mole within the party, an NPC within our web of protagonists. And that makes him really angry. And so he has the sole goal right now. He believes the investigation will free him. He understands that he is innocent of this particular crime that he's being accused of. But he thinks that Greyson's got something going on. And so during this stay in prison, he dedicates 100% of his brain power towards figuring out how to cast a single Compel Indiscretion spell upon our friend Greyson. So to do that, I have a quick question about the cell scenario. You said, I can't remember exactly how it was oriented. Is William anywhere near Greyson? Is he within a line of sight?
William is with Elway, Yasuka, and Lion in that quad. And in fact, you technically Merigold doesn't even know that. He just senses 3 potential targets from his proxy spell casting. You wouldn't even be able to pick which one if you cast. It would just happen somewhere else, and you wouldn't be able to hear the results of it either. Okay. Now
you say we have yard.
Have what?
Time in the yard.
Yes. Yeah, yard. Regularly. But not at the same time. No. They take it out in blocks at a time so that the co-conspirators can't all get together.
Okay. Then he's going to think through a few things. He has no real tools to get out of his cell. So the first thing he does is ask this other inmate if there's any means of escaping the cell, like trying to figure that out. If he knows something, because this other inmate's been here longer. I assume he's still not speaking to me easily?
He is not, but let me take a moment to react to a couple things. First of all, Miles, I keep seeing you move your mouth. You're not saying anything. You might be muted. And second of all, while Miles is figuring out his microphone, I want to mention the frame narrative of thinking of people as player characters and non-player characters would be so shoehorned for anyone else, but it makes so much sense for Merigold to have just never thought of other people as unique beings with agency. It just fits so well that I'm gonna allow you to use the terminology player character and non-player character, especially because I think it's very funny that he's wrong about several people. And B, I'm gonna give you a luck point because that brief glimpse into how Merigold sees the world is brilliant. Miles, are you back? We can't hear you. While Miles suffers in silent agony, just burst in anytime you think you figured it out, Miles, and we'll let you know if we start to hear you. Nothing. Sorry, you had asked this guy in the cell across from you. He has not said anything yet. When you look over to ask him, like, hey, any way out of here, you see his hands moving across something, but the place is poorly lit enough. Hey, Miles is back.
Hey, yo, I'm back.
Anything you want to say to catch up before I move on?
No, just first off, fantastic. Love it so far.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are really making excellent use of this prison time in terms of recovering luck points so far. So, Merigold, yeah, you start to get this guy's attention, and you see that he is like working on something with his hands, but when he notices you paying attention to him, he kind of like slips it back into a cloak pocket, and he looks at you, but doesn't say anything. How did you phrase your request again?
Look, I need your help. We got to get out of here. Not to escape the prison. I just need to go over one cell block. I've got a score to settle.
The kind of wide set man wearing a cloak of like an ochre color, like, you know, kind of like wood crossed with orange, I think. Yeah. You when he looks up at you, you see details of his face illuminated in the faint torchlight that you haven't seen before, and you swear you recognize this guy. In fact, make me a quick roll to see if you can figure out, have I seen this guy before?
I got an 8 as well.
His face is vaguely familiar, but kind of in a, like, maybe you know someone related to him way, or maybe you knew him a long time ago, or maybe you saw his picture rendered somewhere. Not like a personal acquaintance either way. But yeah, he stares at you through furrowed brows. Definitely seems confused by your request, like, hey, I need to break out. Not out of the prison, just need to take a quick walk. He looks confused, but once again, he gives no verbal acknowledgement of what you said.
Hey, listen, this is a secret that I'm going to let you in on, but I'm actually the son of the Archduke of Venel. If you help me, you will have rewards heaped down upon you until gold will no longer fit in your bank account.
It's so in character for Merigold to be like, do you know who my father is? And also, the term Archduke doesn't exist in Venel, but it makes so much sense to say it to this guy because how important your father's house is in Venel is roughly equivalent to an Archduke in this kingdom. So that would be the best way to phrase it. You stumbled into like the perfect way to express how powerful your father is. And I'd like to give you a luck point, but it's too close back to back. So I'm going to call this half a luck point. And next time I feel like giving you half a luck point, that'll be a full luck point. Anyways, go ahead and make me a charisma roll. Merigold hasn't had to make a charisma roll to extract information from someone in so long. I'm really curious to see how this goes. You think you make a pretty compelling case, but he seems unmoved and gives you like a half-hearted shrug. His shoulders don't even go up. They kind of go forward. It's like the most bulky shrug you've ever seen. And then he just like slinks back against his bed or cot really, and turning away from you, pulls something out of his cloak again and is clearly working on it.
All right, that was his 0th idea, so we're going to dip into idea -1, and I'm going to say, hey, if you don't put that Rubik's Cube away and help me get out of here, I'm going to hunt you down and kill you if it's the last thing I do.
Oh my god.
Merigold really wants to be able to cast this spell on Greyson.
This guy floops back over, and something behind his eyes has changed at the threat of violence. And this time, you actually catch a brief glimpse of what he's got in both hands. On the left hand is what appears to have been a bone from the chicken that you guys received for lunch. That he had smuggled away a bone. And on the other hand is like a sliver of stone that he had apparently smashed the wall enough to chip off this sliver, and has been not sharpening, but carving this bone, and you see several runes on it. And he walks very slowly up to the cage. He's been hunched over this whole time, but when he grows to his full height, you realize how truly enormous this guy is. That's another hint that might help you recognize him. Make one more roll. This will be the last thing that might help you figure out who this guy is. You have no idea who this guy is. But he has a stone shiv and a strangely carved, like, inscription bone. And he just leans against the not quite bars, but like interlaced metal, and just looks at you with the flattest, most unimpressed stare you've ever seen. It's worth noting, while Merigold actually is a powerful caster and does have some combat versatility now with his most recent spells, Merigold looks like he couldn't win a fight against most children. Like Merigold is a very thin man, if I remember correctly, and not well suited to combat. Definitely a bookish sort. So yeah, this guy stays here just long enough for you to soak in how truly massive he is and how unimpressed he is with your threat, and then he begins to walk back to his cot unless you do something to, yeah.
Marigold's gonna stand up and, feeling very brave with the bars between us, is gonna stand as close as he can and say, "My good man, pardon me. That was I jest. I jest. I underestimated your intelligence. I see that you're trying to whittle a lockpick there. Perhaps we could come to some sort of an agreement whereby you would give that to me after using it on your own cell door."
This guy furrows his
Again,
brow at you.
Mitch's
Yeah.
power. These things I promised to you.
the first thing that you hear this guy say, he just mutters almost under his breath. It's almost like he doesn't care if you hear it or not. He says, "Not a lockpick."
Well, that's stupid. That would be what you would want to be making right now, dude. You making a shiv? Is that what you're making?
And he
Probably
kind of looks at the
wood
sharpened
carved statue.
thing. Yeah, yeah. He looks at the sharpened piece of stone in his hand and looks at you. Doesn't waste any more words on it, but it like gestures to you like, "I have a shiv."
My good man, suicide is never the answer. That is not the path you want to take here. Just assuming that it wouldn't be used on me, of course. Like,
He looks flatly at you and just mutters something. The only word you make out is talking. Just heaves back to his bed, lies back down, and I'm assuming Merigold keeps talking because it's his default state, but for the most part, this guy tunes you right out.
yeah, I'm gonna
Meanwhile-
start singing a song. Maybe try and woo him with my serenade.
Perfect.
Is serenade a noun too? I don't know if that's actually a noun.
Yeah, it's a noun. It's a noun and a verb.
Cool.
Oh, and finally, William. William, how do you spend your these 3 days?
More than likely, first, can everybody hear me? All right, cool. Just inflicting as much physical pain on myself as physically possible. Doing whatever it takes to just max out my sanguine mana.
You start doing this presumably day 1, and Elway at the first sign of this happening goes, "Hey, buddy, what you doing over there?"
I'm gonna give the most in-depth description of blood magic and why this could be useful for later. And might as well not waste any time. Haha.
She listens through your whole explanation and goes, right. So, do you experience pain in the same way as other people? Like, obviously you regenerate pretty quick, but do you heal? Do you still experience it the same way, right? You're still cutting up your skin.
Yeah, that's correct. 100%. I do probably feel it for less time than everybody else, just because I heal a little bit quicker. But feeling pain is kind of the point.
Oh, she seems. I mean, roll me an insight check, because Elway isn't the most shirt on her sleeve kind of person.
I'm clicking flat. It is not. It's not moving for me.
Oh no.
Oh, hold on.
Well, my rolling is working, and you're. Oh yeah, he's rejoined. He's got an 11.
There we go.
I think because of William's awareness of grace, William has an incredible level of insight towards other people, and so I think that 11 is going to cut it. Elway is deeply and personally disturbed by the conclusion that that your activity right now is centered around pain. And when you see her reaction to that, you recognize it because it was your own reaction. The reaction that you had to a very traumatic awakening of what the extent of blood magic really means. An awakening that you had maybe 5 weeks ago tops. and you see in yourself
Sorry, can
the
I look
parallels
over?
of the person that you saw that convinced you that blood magic was a bad idea. Go ahead.
So I've basically spent the entirety of like life, I guess, kind of rolling with the nature of my angelic ancestry. Just being somebody that's nice and kind and willing to give as much as I can to other people in the kindest way possible. I want to look at her in a off-brand serious manner and say, I'm just doing what's necessary to bring this down, obviously. But whatever we can do to get out of this situation so I can further my goal is what must be done. It's better me than others.
Oh, no, it's not. No, it's better no one. And that's her immediate like gut response. But thinking about it for a second, she pauses and says, hold on, bud, bring what down? What's your end goal here?
Going to rid the world of blood magic as an idea, as a concept, mostly.
Oh. Can you do that?
Frankly, I don't necessarily have hard evidence of yes, but I'm going to try my best.
She thinks about this for a long moment. In fact, she becomes lost in thought for long enough for it to not really feel like the same conversation anymore. And she kind of drifts for a while and thinks about this. In fact, you guys eat in this area, sleep, and it is the next day before she brings this back up to you again. And she says, hey, I get why you think, not why you think, I get why you need this power, why it's really important to you. There are other ways to get it, right?
There are. However, it's damningly inefficient. Insufficient, honestly. The fact that it isn't as efficient as pain almost demands the necessity for things like blood temples to exist.
Her eyes are far away and long ago, as she listens to what you have to say, and she eventually responds, I think I know what you mean, and I understand that we're in a pretty bad situation for you to be rethinking your approach to life right now. Actually, wait, that's not true at all. When's there going to be a better time? You're stuck here. There's nothing for you to do. And I get that probably is part of this. It's part of why you need to do this. Because there's not a lot that you feel that you can do. But I think there's other options. That if your end goal is bringing down blood magic, then for lack of a better term, I think I understand that you derive certain benefits from self-harm. And I think there's better ways to get what you need than by doing something that's not okay. And that's never going to be okay. You know that because your goal is to end it. And I think that you're furthering the problem, and I just think there's a better way to do what you're doing. And I don't know what that is, but I'd like to work on that together. And I'd like you to not be alone in looking for alternatives. Would that be okay?
I'd be interested in seeing a different approach, but to break a system, it's usually beneficial to work from within. Understanding it on a personal level is what I've currently thought to be my first greatest step. To exaggerate it and to truly find the limits to this power will, I believe, give me the insight required in order to bring it to its knees.
She thinks about this too for a really long time, and it's clear that she is very thoroughly thinking about what she wants to say to you. And eventually she says, look, if there's two things, can I share with you something about myself? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. If there's two things that I have the expertise in, because I don't consider myself a professional about a lot of things, but if there's two things that I think I know better than the average person, it is knowing that there are positive alternatives to self-harm and knowing how to dismantle systems that shouldn't be there. I'd like to be your partner, and I don't know if you can do what you're trying to do, just getting rid of blood magic, but there have been systems that need dismantling in the past, and I think I'm pretty good at being a part of that process. Do you think we could work together?
I think having a partner would do nothing but benefit.
Okay. It's a deal. Right on. A very interesting approach that William has to this, and a good development. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Meanwhile.
Question.
Yes.
For that scene, before we leave, do Yasuka and Lion have anything to say? Because I know that, like, as far as, like, their powers, they're pretty diametrically opposed between, well, not exactly, right? Because this those of the sun are opposite of what are Elway's
wraiths.
patrons known as?
Yes.
Wraiths.
Yes. They
so
are
just like from that angle, yeah. I'm wondering if Yasuka is like, no, you shouldn't try and like rid the world of blood magic. That would throw everything out of, or
yeah, that's
is there a philosophical thing, or is that a Elway personal thing, and a like Yasuka doesn't really have a feeling one way or another on it?
So first of all, this let's see. William and Elway's cells are like close enough to one another. They can, there's like a hallway between them, but they were talking to each other, kind of not really in earshot. I think if Yasuka or Lion were like really dedicated to Snoop, they could have eavesdropped on that. But as a general rule, people are giving each other very deliberate space because privacy is so lacking. So that's why Lion and Yasuka weren't hopping in with stuff to do. And stuff to say about that. As for Yasuka and Elway's like caster types being diametrically opposed, this is a part of the theory of axes that we actually saw Merigold's teacher and friend Fergus talking about in one of the very first scenes of this newest campaign. And the theory of axes does say that there are worlds that are diametrically opposed because they are constructed at opposite ends of an axis: the axis of instinct, the axis of faith, the axis of structure, and the axis of cognition. The axis of structure is supposed to represent the dichotomy of law versus order, and those of the sun are supposed to represent law, and the wraiths are supposed to represent chaos or disorder. But there are very frequently ways in which the diametric, like the opposition, doesn't really play out like that. For example, the wild folk who are the patrons of druids, and the Razorkin, who are the patrons of blood mages, have never really had any significant fights or wars. And it's actually a little unclear, even to high magely scholars, what their contrast is supposed to be. It's less clear than like angels versus demons, who it's very transparently good versus evil. And as you guys happen to know, perception of good versus perception of evil. As for wraiths and those of the sun, they are very frequently at war, especially over topics like the permanence of death, where like death works differently in the Nightlands and is more cyclical rather than linear. Things don't die forever in the Nightlands. As you guys know, there are certain powerful witches who can defy death in certain ways, like Vizier Kama being sort of reincarnated. And those of the Sun are pretty strictly, hey, death is a one-way street, and it has to be for good reasons. So that's one of the things they are diametrically opposed about. But there are also ways in which they starkly agree. For example, witches having the responsibility to like fight against systems of injustice and oppression, ally with one of the three crusades that those of the Sun have going on right now, which is the crusade against chains, or crusade against shackles, it might be. I'll have to look it up. But basically, slavery is still practiced in certain of the 6 kingdoms, and the like abolishment of that practice is something that inheritors and witches have very much in common. That is a goal that they are actively working towards at all times. So sometimes aesthetically they are diametrically opposed, but they very frequently agree on things. For example, if William does loop Yasuka into this conversation, she'll probably have a lot to say about how there are positive alternatives to something as messed up as self-harm, as like a fuel for magic.
Which is tough because now I've gone and specialized specifically where I can no longer gain sanguine mana from harming others or joy to myself as well.
Yes, but you still can get mana from like causing pleasure,
joy
for,
to
other people.
Yeah.
So there are alternatives, strictly speaking. None that are great for like a 10x10 cell, but nonetheless. So,
I do want to ask, after like 3 days of this, have I found a limit to this like mana pool yet? Like 3 days of just like round the clock, like sleeping on my sides, just like scraping knuckles, whatever's got to be done.
Yeah. I'm gonna need 2 things from you. I'm gonna need you to make a roll to see how well you've been doing this. But before you do, I'm also gonna need you to decide how hard in the paint is William going on like pushing the limits of what he can survive from this kind of thing. Because I'll remind you that William has the tough stat, which makes it William is very like resistant to damage. In addition to which, he has incredible regenerative capabilities, being like a small part angel. So William's tolerances are up there. How much is William pushing the envelope? Like anime protagonist pushing the envelope? Like if I don't die a little bit by the end of this, I'll have failed myself. Or like
I'm not hyperbolic time chamber at this point. I'm gonna be I'm hoping to just pass the threshold of harm instead of like I want to be like there's pain, harm, and like injury. I want it to be in the solid like I'm causing harm. Like more than likely I'm going to end up with scars by the end of my life because of this kind of stuff. But not necessarily debilitating. I don't want to like walk out with less fingers than I came in with.
I always write these stories to a certain level of internet approachability, but from William's descriptions of blood magic, I constantly feel like I have to add a trigger warning to the beginning of these. Because you are straight up like, oh, self-harm is a magic system? Boom, I'm 110% in. But yeah, make me a roll because you have all those bonuses, especially from tough. Go ahead and roll it with advantage to see how much sanguine mana you are able to draw.
16.
You are able to not debilitate yourself while all of this is going on and gain a significant amount of sanguine mana, you still have not hit the upper ceiling on how much you can hold. Now that shouldn't be too surprising, because you've kind of been building your storage more often than you've been expending it for like years now. So for 3 days to really push the limits, it would have to be a crazy 3 days, especially because you just spent a good amount of it on red purpose charm in the Court of the King. So you've got some building back up to do. In fact, this probably isn't even quite the peak of your sanguine mana storage, but the ceiling
does that include
goes
like
higher.
the specialization that I had as well, increasing the amount of sanguine mana that I'd be able to acquire from this kind of thing?
Yes, very much.
Dang.
Cool. I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do I know if I have a way of communicating with Arthias?
Ooh, right now, not that you know of, especially because if he's still in the same body, he's fleeing the country.
So like, okay, I'm gonna start like shouting his name for a while, and then I'm gonna start writing songs about him and singing them. And after about 2 days of this, has anything happened? Is my question. Other than
of
Chicken
singing-
Bone getting really annoyed with me.
Oh, no, he's still working on that chicken bone. It looks like he's stored more and more like carvable things. Most of them still like bones from meals. But he's building a small collection and like stashing it in his pillow. Yeah.
But no sign of Arthias?
No sign of Arthias.
Okay, I gave him the secret of Tiefstahl, right? He has this?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Then after 2 days, Merigold is going to realize that he doesn't do well in captivity and he doesn't do well with extended periods of sobriety. So I'm going to lean up against the bars and say, all right, Chicken Bone, listen carefully. I'm going to give him an in-depth explanation of how to forge Tiefstahl.
Hoping to draw the attention of your patron Arthias. All right.
Yep.
If the man in the other cell is listening, he gives no visual indication. But nonetheless, few enough people know the secret that hopefully this will have garnered some attention from Arthias.
Can I roll?
For what?
For Arthias noticing and wanting to do something about it? I guess that would be you rolling, I guess. But
yeah, there's not really a performance element to it that you can do better or worse. But if that action would be enough to get him to come talk to you after your last meeting, then he's on his way. So
cool.
Yeah. So that brings us up to the current time for those 3 days. Time continues to pass, and you guys continue to be in jail with no couriers or messengers or guards letting you know news about the case or the king's judgment or the baron. However, before too long, Alberth, one night you are sleeping, and something awakens you, like pinging off of your eyebrow. You start to stir, but kind of start to fall back asleep, and something bounces off of your face again. And when you start to... Oh. Yeah.
Sorry.
You good? Oh, you're...
The whole last part was gone for me.
Oh, gotcha. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, you're... Sorry. Yeah, you are awoken by something small, like bouncing off of your face. You start to wake up and then kind of start to drift back to sleep, and something bounces off your face again. So you drag your eyes up to see a hooded figure in jet black dyed leathers. There's straps across the chest and across the waist and the hips that could conceal any amount of equipment or weaponry. The figure is hooded and cloaked and very, very short. In one hand cupping a small handful of seeds, and the other hand throwing them to try and wake you up. And seeing that you're awake, the figure dashes the seeds against the hallway, wipes its hands, and Vizier Kama pulls back her jet black hood.
Hey.
Having awoken only you in this little group of 4, I'm nonetheless going to have Greyson roll a perception check to see Greyson seems like a light sleeper by necessity, and there's a chance Greyson would want to snoop on this conversation. And with an 18,
does.
you can feel, yeah. An imperceptible shift is the only external sign of Greyson pulling up like the blanket so that he can have a visual of this dimly torchlit situation. Bless you, Miles. And snoop and eavesdrop on this conversation. And Kama says, "Hey, you awake? Come here."
Yeah. What's up?
You walk
How
over
are
to
you
her
here?
so she can he says, "Hi, yeah. Well, I snuck in. So I've been looking into this, trying to see what's up. I want to give you a quick update. There's let's see what she's got. All right, sweet. Because yeah, the investigation is underway. I'm looking into Pater Ullman, and I'm really close to being able to tell the Queen that I'm alive and retake my power. But I want to make sure that Ullman doesn't have any traps left. Once I do that, I'll have the authority to let you guys out of the dungeon. I'm also keeping track of the investigation right now. The Baron's got his grubby little paws in it, and he's pulling the strings from high up, but there's some good people on the investigation as well. Lady Mossely is keeping the Baron's worst intentions at kind of at bay, and so the investigation is looking up. You guys just need to sit tight for now, and I will be back in a couple of days to give you another update, and hopefully by then I'll be the vizier again. I'll be the left hand of the Queen. It'll be great. Is there anything that any messages that you guys need sent to the outside, or anything that I can look into for you?
Nothing for me, but I'm sure that Marigold's going to have something. I have a feeling that he hasn't handled this very well. He's itching to do something.
Vizier Kama, or rather just Lady Kama, or maybe just Kama. It's never been clear if she's actually of noble birth, but you would presume so because she had a royal appointment. Her mouth is pulled into a thin line, and she goes, "About that, how positive are you that Merigold isn't a warlock?" I bring it up because he's kind of always had a lot going on that's been secret, and mostly it's been stuff that's turned out good for us, but I think that's mostly been by coincidence. It's not that he's like well-meaning. He's just never had anything. We've just never been at odds with him coincidentally. So how sure are you that he doesn't have... You know what? I brought a Banefinder actually, so I'm just gonna find out. I'll nip out real quick. Also, what is up with your friend Greyson? Because I heard conflicting reports about what happened in the King's Chamber. Is he a warlock? Like, he seems kind of new to the group, so I don't really care if he is, unless his particular demon is of particular interest to our situation, in which case I can sneak in and slit his throat right now.
No. I don't think that's necessary. I'm convinced that there was a spell at large that was just messing with all Banefinders. Like, Greyson, turns out, has been hunting demons for a long time. Like, he wouldn't do that if he was working for a demon. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm pretty sure Grayson's on the up and up in that respect.
Yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
Merigold, as far as I know, I don't know.
Yeah, she nods and she looks towards Greyson, and she starts to turn back to you and does a double take to Greyson. She squints her eyes. She goes, "Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I'll go check out." And you start to hear footsteps and like you see distant flickering torchlight. She goes, "Right. Anything else? Quick." I'll talk to Merigold too. Anything else?
No, I think you're good. Thank you.
Sweet. Merigold. You are soon awoken by some seeds flicked against your face, and you wake up to a similar thing. Short-hooded figure flips the hood back. Vizier Kama, she waves, gestures you over.
Kama, chameleon.
Don't do
Oh,
that.
hi.
Don't do that.
Come here. I need to tell you how to forge Thief Stall really quick. Oh, wait, no. Do you consent to be a proxy source for me? I need your help.
Shut up. So she pulls a small compass-looking device out of her pocket, holds it up very close to your face, and the needle does not wiggle. And she goes, "Oh, well, I wouldn't be able to tell. I don't think I can tamper with this cell."
I turn around and offer my wrists, and I say, "Bind me, let me out, and test it again. I promise it'll come out negative, and then we can figure out what the hell Greyson's all about."
I know, right? But also, no, I don't have a key. I can't break you out of it. I don't have the capability to do so, let alone... No. Let's see.
Can I give her a chicken bone that I kept from yesterday's dinner?
Roll me a retroactive stealth check to see if you kept the chicken bone stealthily enough from...
I haven't rolled above an 8 all day. That's a 5.
They confiscated your chicken bone, and it led to a thorough investigation of your cellmate's bunk, during which he masterfully concealed his various chicken bone sculptures, and he's starting to carve them into weird shapes. But he nonetheless is very upset with you and has stopped listening to your consistent rambling.
Can I say, Kama, this is kind of been nagging at me. Do you recognize this dude? He is just the worst cellmate. He will not talk to me.
She looks over. The guy is sleeping with his back to you. And she turns. I'm actually gonna make a roll for Kama to see if she recognizes. She got a 19, and she goes, "Oh yeah, for sure. That's one of the. You can't tell from the color of his cloak and his build. That's one of the demon hunters that helped us back when we were getting the queen back to the capital. Do you remember that group of 4 demon hunters? One of them died.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one of the brothers of
Why is he
Ochre.
so angry with me? He doesn't seem to like me very much. That's weird.
Oh, how long have you been here?
How long has it been? Is it 3 days, 4 days now?
A little over 3 days, yeah.
Just a little over 3 days.
Oh, and
just
you've been
to
yourself
eternity.
in proximity to him? I don't think it's a mystery. So... Alberth sent me. I talked to Alberth because I kind of consider him the leader. Yeah, I don't need to explain myself. I kind of consider him the leader when I'm gone. He said that he couldn't really think of anything he needed, but that I should check on you because he felt like you were planning something and that you might need some help. Can I get you anything from the outside? Can I send any correspondence? What do you need?
Yeah, you seem like you're a real person with a decent amount of free will. I really need to cast a single mage spell on Greyson. That is the only thing that I really need right now. Unless you could get me maybe some whiskey. Also, I would probably accept that. Would be also fine.
Well, first of all, and she actually pulls a very small flask from one of the many straps of her pockets, and goes, "It was gonna be a long night." And she it's small enough that she slides it through the thing, and she thinks about it for a second, and also puts a second vial through that. This one is not full of liquid. It's translucent, and you can see that it is full of a translucent light red powder that you recognize as Fireheart powder. She goes, "Yeah, the withdrawal is going to be pretty bad without one or both of these. So, let's see. Oh, quick tech break. Give me 3 minutes. My headphones just said, charge me. Did you ever get a human sounding voice? Is it bit encoded? I don't understand how it's always
because they don't want you to think that it's your stuff trying to get you to charge it.
Hold on. And now I turn the Bluetooth off. And then I turn you off. I can still hear you. Can OBS still hear you? Sam, say something.
Hello.
Crushing it. Who needs to edit? That's anyways. So, my goodness, where were we? Oh yeah, Kama gives you the small vial of stuff, small vial of Fireheart powder. She says, "Be careful with that liquid. That's supposed to be mixed with something. That's not just." Wait, you need to cast a mage spell. Why are you asking me to get you drunk?
Oh, that's actually, I can cast it through Miles. If you get him out actually and across from Grayson, that would be equally effective.
The name Miles is magically transmuted into the name William by the nature of storytelling, and she goes, "So you can cast spells from William, but not from yourself?"
Yeah.
Oh, and you want to do that through me instead, so that you can cast a spell on Grayson from me. Wait, is it gonna? Yeah. Okay.
Really?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I need you to go find William. I'll do it through him.
Because you're going to cast the spell on me to be able to use me as the spellcaster. You need to cast that from Will. You guys have me running all over this dungeon. I'll do it. I'll be right back.
Yes.
Before long.
Meanwhile, I'm just going to start taking swigs, but I'm going to save a little bit because I'm going to try to use it to make a friendship with Chicken Bone.
That's fantastic. Before long, I explained earlier, because you cast proxy spellcasting on William, you can't like see through his eyes. That's a different spell. But you can, goodness, excuse me. You can like detect that there are targets for your different spells within proximity. Specifically, there are 4 within proximity of William right now, apparently including himself. You can use proxy spellcasting on someone else to cast it on them, which is important because the cooldown kind of like you're a high level enough mage essentially that the cooldown like completes before the effect wears off, so you can essentially refresh it. Anyways, without getting too into the minutia, before long, a 5th spell target waltzes in to like the middle of these 4, and there's a 5th target that you can cast the spell on. Do you do so? Sweet. You cast it. The figure hangs out for a minute or two and then leaves. And soon enough, yeah, Kama comes back to you. And you were worried for a second that you might have just cast it on a guard that wandered near William, but no, it was Kama. She comes back to you and says, "I'm back. Did it work? Can you cast spells for me?"
Yeah.
Sweet.
I sure can. Yeah.
Right on.
Great. Amazing. I guess I could maybe use one of my force lances to break myself out of these bars here, but one step at a time. I need you to go stand next to William, and I need you to promise me that you will relay everything he says back to me. I need the secrets, Kama. I need them.
Okay.
More than this whiskey, I need those secrets. Those I need them.
Finally, Merigold, we're on the same page of whose secrets you should violently extract. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's right.
She walks over to another cell group, and as she passes, like, comes very close to guards and that kind of thing, you can sense targets. But eventually she settles in a room with 3 other targets. Now, you cannot decide. You can't tell the difference between them. So
can I tell their distance from Kama?
Very, very vaguely. In fact, go ahead and roll me a check. I don't even know what I would call this, but to finally attune this sense that you very rarely used disembodied from your other senses, to see which of these targets is closest to Kama.
Can I use my awareness of secrecy to see who has the most hidden stuff of the 3 bodies?
No.
No?
That is a sense that is still located within your body.
Okay, bummer. Okay, what am I rolling for then? Say it again.
I don't know what to call it, but your ability to determine which of these figures comma is closest to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Alberth, coincidentally, unless you've gone back to sleep already, you see comma roll up, give you a half nod, and stand at the bars of Grayson's. And Grayson, presumably, you see this as well.
Roll that right now, because that was a nat 1 right there is what that was. I got a 7. Can I use another luck point to re-roll again?
Yeah. Well, you
I haven't got above
cannot
an 8 all day.
you cannot tell which one of these
Can I use my
targets is
final luck
closest
point?
to comma. You have so many. Yeah, you can use your final luck point if you want to burn it on this.
Really.
A
Damn it.
7. It's
Wow.
a wild streak of bad luck for Sam
Oh my
today.
gosh.
You can't
RNG
tell.
Jesus has got their back.
You can cast anyways, and I will roll a 3-sided die to determine who this hits.
Okay. Yep.
Yes.
Slash roll. 1d3. I rolled it before I decided which numbers went, so I'm going to re-roll it. 1 is Alberth, 2 is Grayson, and 3 is your affable roommate, Nell. and by roommate, I mean cellmate. She's not that affable. She doesn't seem to like either of you. Now, you accidentally cast this spell on Nell, but there's an additional complication.
Oh.
When we've talked about spellcasting in the past, there is a part of your mind which you are exerting like a muscle. And part of the reason that Merigold's spell cooldowns essentially are so low is because that is a well-worked casting muscle for him. And when Merigold uses proxy spellcasting on someone else, he's using their muscle. And in fact, they can tell that a spell is being cast from them. Something happens when you try to move this part of comma's mind that it is like trying to lift like a 3-ton weight with the emaciated body of someone who has never used the muscles that you're talking about using. And actually, Alberth, watching this, you see comma at Grayson's bars falls unconscious and just collapses.
Oh.
Oh no.
I'm gonna have Alberth
Oh.
and Grayson. I'm gonna have you each roll a deduction check to see if you can figure out what just happened to her and deduct that it is somehow Marigold's fault. Alberth,
Am I able
your
to see?
instincts serve you well. You both immediately know. Oh, 100%. This can be tracked
Marigold.
directly back to Merigold because you both heard Alberth send her to Merigold, and then she went out, presumably talked to Merigold, and then came back. In addition to which, mind-affecting stuff can generally be blamed on Merigold.
Am I able to see or be anywhere near that I could be able to like heal this in some way?
You are in a different cell block. You don't even know that this is happening, and you
Fair
are
enough.
asleep. A very needed sleep, regenerating from your many wounds. Yeah. Alberth, Grayson.
Wait, is she near my cell? Can I take things from her?
100% you can take things from her. You will be admitting to Alberth that you've been awake. You could maybe think it as like the collapse woke you up. Like, what was that noise?
Yeah, I'm gonna fake that and then loot her unconscious body, I guess.
Sweet. She has on her a Banefinder, 2 daggers, 1 rapier that must have been like very hard to jam between because it is like in a sheath that's hidden in several straps down her back. Several small vials of liquids that you presume must be either potions or shots of flavored alcohol. Good. I didn't think to write down her entire inventory. I'm trying to think. She probably has a good deal of money on her. She, a small like a timekeeping device that you thought only mages were allowed to have, and what appears to be like a rip candle, where like it's got like a thing at the bottom that you can pull that ignites the wick. Alberth, in the dim light, you recognize this as something that you've seen used before that represented the that you were on a quest for the throne, and it was the symbol of Archduke Visica. You're not sure if this one is also Visica or if it's just a similar like magely artifact, but you know that it would like project a royal seal onto a surface, basically.
Okay. See, I was thinking I would have to be careful about what I take, but she doesn't have a key. So I feel bad though. I don't think Grayson could not take the magic clock thing. That just seems like the sort of rare weird thing that it's like I have to pocket that. But then like is there anything else that's like a buckle or a sort of thing I could just like rip off like a strap that I could maybe start fashioning into a lockpick? Just like something like that.
Yeah, for sure. There is a cornucopia of like detachable things. This is the most modular outfit you've ever seen. It's kind of sweet, but it's basically like a cat burglar suit, but you couldn't tell because it was so covered in just like stuff that she brought in case she would need it. And so it's just this whole inventory of like buckles like that. And if you take one of the daggers, you could sharpen pretty much anything anything malleable into like a lockpick type shape. Yeah, you take a bunch of this stuff. Alberth, what are you thinking watching Grayson loot this?
Just absolutely pillage.
Your first instinct was
like,
this is Merigold's fault somehow, but now it kind of seems like Grayson went, wow, steal.
Does she have anything on her that would help wake her up?
Oh, great
Like
question.
Any smelling salts or
Actually, yeah, I could
something?
probably do that with this alcohol. I'm gonna pocket like the watch and maybe a vial and then a dagger and then wake her up with this like some alcohol smell or something. See if that works. Some of the fire powder.
She unfortunately she gave away the Fireheart powder. There are several like leaves, like collections of dried leaves and liquids. Make me a quick alchemy check to see if you recognize any of these ingredients or admixtures.
Oh,
Grayson has no idea what any of these do. You could, if you trust your cellmate Alberth, you could try and roll some of these vials across the way to him, or toss him some of these pouches to see if he could identify it. He's a crafty sort.
I will do that. I mean, I'm probably the shadiest character in the party by like a mile at this point, but I trust Alberth. So
nice.
Roll me a quick dexterity check to get them safely to Alberth. And
yeah,
Alberth, roll me a luck check.
Hey,
real quick.
Alberth, would rolling or tossing these be better for you to not break them?
Definitely.
What is
rolling.
the best method? Okay.
Right on. You make an excellent roll with several of the vials, and the pouches that look kind of like tea bags. You kind of have to flick over with on the other side of the But you managed to get a good amount of this material over to Alberth. Alberth, that is a 14 for your luck check. No guards have rolled up yet. Go ahead and also make me an alchemy check to see what you can discern about these various materials. A 2 means you have no idea what any of these substances do. You were never much of an outdoorsman. Keith might have known better. Rest in peace. But
Rip.
yeah, you don't really know what any of these do. No guards yet, but no progress on trying to find a way to wake up Kama.
All right, well, you can keep those vials, I guess. Maybe they'll come in handy later.
Can I cast a
Sounds
psychic
good.
ward on her? Would that help potentially?
Cast what on her?
Psychic ward.
Maybe.
Like, can I use her unconscious mind to do it?
You try to, but once again, trying to cast a spell from Kama's mind, is like lifting an impossibly large weight.
Why does it look so off from William then? Haven't had any issues using him as a turret.
Unfortunately, you've already switched.
Yeah, I just was wondering, like, why is William so resilient to it? Is it because he's a caster?
Why is
Does
William
she have
so
psychic
resistant to
training?
it?
Because I've been able to use William's mind to cast these types of spells. A
Yes,
lot.
definitely. Yeah, it must be something about Kama specifically. And traditionally, psychic training is meant to prevent spells from being cast on one. So that would have taken an effect when Marigold cast proxy spell casting on her, not when she's trying, when you're basically casting something through her mind.
Right. Okay. But she is still a proxy, so if she does get out of here, I'll be able to cast spells through her wherever she goes. Correct? Like once she's back up and moving?
Yeah, theoretically.
Cool. Just checking.
Yep.
Might cause some chaos later when I get bored in this cell.
Wait. I've done something wrong. You can't reattempt that. When she falls unconscious, she's no longer a conscious and consenting party.
Right.
So that connection is cut off, which is bad news because now you have no external focal point for your spells.
Yikes. That was a huge bummer.
Yes. Alberth, roll me a quick improvise check.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
19.
A 19 reveals to Alberth a revelation concerning the nature of his cell. They're preventing you from casting druid spells. They're not preventing you from casting servitor spells. That means two things. First of all, your Hearthlight aura is accessible to you. That might help Kama wake up both through the light and through the healing. The light might attract guard attention if you make it a very obvious Hearthlight aura, because remember, you can kind of turn it between 1 and 10. In addition to which, you realize that Lend Power is a servitor spell, and just like Marigold can cast spells from outside of his cell, but if the person outside of it, you might be able to pass a druid power to someone else, like say Compel Adrenaline. You might be able to pass to Greyson for him to then use on Kama.
Okay. I'm going to do both of those things. Those are great. So Hearthlight Aura, turning it on just a little bit. So there's some light, but not like enough to attract, hopefully, any guards around. And I'm going to say, Greyson!
Yeah, you've got my attention. You're glowing.
I'm going to let you borrow something real quick. I'm going to need you to cast a spell. I don't know if you know what that means.
Greyson knows already? I don't remember if Greyson knows that you have Lend Power. Anyways,
it was discussed when you brought the wolf to his house. When you brought your puppy to his house, you guys were messing around with all
Were they able to do all this even with their Bane materials in the walls and stuff?
Yes, because they don't have Druid Bane materials in Greyson's or Servitor Bane materials in Alberth's. So Alberth's Servitor power, Lend Power, will allow him to give Druid power to Greyson, and Greyson will be able to cast the Druid power, even though he can't cast his own Warlock powers.
Wild.
Is that the exchange that you guys do?
Yep.
Sweet.
That's exactly what we do.
Grayson, you feel a spell enter your mind, and normally mastering a spell like this would take an incredible amount of training, but as we've discussed, the nature of druidic magic means that you instinctively know how to use it and like what it does. Compel Adrenaline has entered your mind with a symbiotic focus, which means that you can cast it on a group of people. In fact, you must cast it on a group of people. Everyone within 30 feet of Kama will also be affected.
Oh, Nell's in for a rude awakening. All right, I'll cast it.
Did the spell go through Kama at least, or did she get?
The spell. Oh, I've lost everyone. Viewer, I'm alone now. Oh, I'm back.
You're back.
Nice. Perfect time. I was just talking about you guys. Yeah.
Dan brought up a good point. Oh, did you hear it?
Oh, yeah. The spell was not cast. Kama just fell unconscious. It must be something about her mind or like an enchantment placed on her. She just doesn't get to cast spells, even by proxy. Yeah.
Weird.
Very strange.
All right.
But you guys know Kama's not any kind of caster that you know about. She just knows a bunch of very high-powered casters.
Actually, wait. Before I cast it, I might want to... I don't know if it would be better to leave the thing that can prove I'm a warlock with her or with me. Because I feel like if I wake her up and she's right next to myself, she might just, like, notice, is kind of the issue I'm having. We might be past that point. I guess at this point it would be really sus to, like, oh, wait, let me grab something. And so I'll zap her awake, and probably some guards within 30 feet as well.
Right on. Yeah, there are not guards within 30 feet of you, so that's great news. But when you cast Compel Adrenaline centered on Vizier Kama, you feel really hyped up. Alberth, you feel really hyped up. You're usually the one casting this, and so it happening externally feels very different. And Nell wakes up stabbing. She's doing this motion, and she realizes she doesn't have a knife, and she like flips off of her bed holding the pillow, and she yanks the cover off of it and wraps it into like a garrote wire, and she's like prowling around her cell. This all happens in like 4 seconds, and she looks around, kind of stops.
Good.
Not even it blinded. Livy came in just to yeah, so Nell doesn't even see Vizier Kama on the ground. Kama is all in black. It's pitch black. She's just a lump on the ground, and she looks around at you two, looking at her, and she seems really confused at what's happening to her mind. She goes, I had a bad dream, I guess. And then she like
talk about it.
Puts her pillow in. Shut up. And she puts her pillow back into the case and like curls up in the fetal position, kind of facing away from you guys. Like, what was that? Nonetheless, you look down, and Vizier Kama, despite still being a lump on the ground, has woken up, and her eyes are like very wide but staring straight forward. There's something that we haven't talked about. I mentioned Compel Adrenaline inspires a fight or flight reaction. Something you guys may or may not know about modern biology. The definition of fight or flight has been expanded. There aren't actually really 2 options to danger. There are 4 that are very identifiable in large groups. Fight and flight are 2 of them. The desire to kill whatever's threatening you, and the desire to run away from whatever's threatening you. There's also freeze, the desire to like stop moving before you figure out what's going on in the situation. That is what causes that deer in headlights phenomenon. That deer see something that they don't really have a concept for understanding what's threatening them, and so they stop, thinking, I'll figure out what's going on before I react to it, or I'll stop in hopes that something will leave me alone, not realizing that I'm like prey. And the 4th is fawn, which is like try to endear yourself to whatever's threatening you, and that's a big trauma response in humans especially. We see a lot of that, but Kama is exhibiting the freeze reaction right now, and it is in like a rictus until the spell wears off, and she kind of unclenches and looks around and goes, and she looks at Merigold, or she looks at Greyson and narrows her eyes, and she stands up, still very shaky, and puts her hands against the steel lattice and says, you. And she kind of looks around at Alberth, and then looks around, kind of figures out what spells just happened, and nods, and she says,
you... Good.
I need to know, Greyson, I need to know, something just happened to me, and it was either because of Merigold or it was because of you. So I need you to tell me it wasn't you. No, mine is too, but I need to make sure before I leave. Was that you?
Oh yeah, no, that was not me, for sure. I mean, the adrenaline was technically me through a power that Alberth has, but the the falling unconscious thing, was not me. I assume that was Merigold.
Yes. No, let me be very clear. I'm talking about the falling unconscious thing.
Yeah.
That is a good question. Does Marigold know that that was because of him, or does he just think he tried to have his triumphant moment and then his source fell unconscious?
Make a deduction check.
My gosh.
15.
With a 15,
Best
I'm going to
roll.
say that Marigold knows about certain psychic protections that not only prevent incursion, but cause feedback to the person casting the original spell. So Marigold's best idea of what happened is he successfully cast the spell on Greyson, and Greyson has like sort of clapback psychic training that caused Kama to fall unconscious because technically the spell was cast from her. But that doesn't explain the strange resistance that you felt when casting the spell. Because it wasn't that the spell was cast but had trouble succeeding. It was that the spell had trouble being cast. So it's a working theory at best, but that's the best idea Marigold has of what was going on.
Sure.
And
So that means no one really knows that it was Nell that was going to be cast, I guess, right?
correct.
Weird.
So, Kama points at you and says, Greyson, you said it wasn't you. Tell me 2 more times. Tell me you didn't do this. You're not sure what that could mean, but yeah.
That's very
do this.
specific.
Yeah. This feels very arcane, but sure. I didn't do this, and I didn't do this.
Okay.
Is that
I
a
believe you.
spell? I wasn't. I guess I don't really know you very well. I just assumed you weren't a caster, maybe. Weird.
She straightens herself out and starts picking up her alchemical belongings that ended up scattered on this kind of intersection. She goes, "No, I don't cast spells."
That's a very specific wording as well.
That's true. And to be fair, I was sent here so someone else could cast a spell, but I don't
Freaking
think that's what
Marigold.
happened. Yeah, I don't see any point in hiding it. Freaking Marigold. I think he did this. I think this is his fault, and frankly, I think he's planning it. And she kind of puts all the stuff back in her pockets that was on the ground in the middle and goes, "All right, I'm gonna leave. See you in a couple days, Alberth." And she strolls out of the dungeons. Meanwhile, in Marigold's little intersection, across the way is the sleeping brother of Ochre, who Marigold has now identified. He doesn't know which brother of Ochre it is, but out of the shadows, a figure practically melts into existence. An ominously tall figure clad in flowing black robes strolls near silently up to Marigold's lattice work. Arms folded in those big flowy like monk robes, but made out of black material that Marigold, with his very opulent upbringing, recognizes as pure silk. The man stands very close to the bars, and though his face is hidden in shadow, you see torchlight glint against deep green eyes, and he says, "Finally. I thought she'd never leave." And he looks you down and up appraisingly, and then holding out a hand, one of the sort of bricks that make up the flagstone that is the floor of these dungeons shoots up into his hands. And he looks at you for a long moment. Then, crouching, reaches a hand in and parts some of the salt and places some dirt so that it breaks the ring of salt and alcohol that is like buried under the cell. Patting this dirt together, you feel all of your mage spells return to you.
I've been drinking.
Oh, you're right. You do not feel any of your mage spells return
Are
to
you
you.
doing this? Can I take? I was saving some of my flask to use to befriend this guy.
Yes.
That was the plan.
Yes. By the way,
That
you've been
didn't-
sipping basically Everclear. It's 85 proof. Or not 85 proof. It's 85% alcohol by volume. It's practically toxic.
Jeez.
It's
So there's about one little
Gonna die.
swig left. I'm gonna.
you finished the shot before doing the Fireheart powder. Make a quick check to see how well you sober up, because it's a small vial, but Everclear is some nasty college student bullshit. So make me a roll.
I got an
oh,
11.
is that it?
So I don't know if that should be with advantage due to my heavy drinking.
That's what I was gonna say. I think because of your incredible alcohol tolerance built up over years now, I think that is enough to bring mage spells back within your grasp. So if you cast anything immediately, you can do that. It's just like he removes the thing and you're like
Can I do a quick perception check what type of damage he's most likely to deal to me? Like, is he going to be a knife attack guy? Is he going to, like, knife me in the ribs? Like, should I cast a psychic ward or a kinetic ward or try to use a force shield, basically? What's the most likely form of defense that I'll need?
He can't make a melee attack against you from outside of the bars, and he couldn't effectively throw something through the bars. So as for right now, psychic ward is the only one that makes sense.
I'm going to get
Okay.
You stopped the
Working
video
plan,
instead of
The
muting.
minute I feel a psychic attack coming on, I'm going to use my Duralumin spell, my exhaustive strength, along with the kinetic shield. Because I'm worried that if he's just approaching me and doing this, he knows I'm getting my spells back. He doesn't know I have alcohol, so he thinks that I have spells right now. If he's going to attack me, he's confident he can make it past a normal psychic ward.
I think Merigold, what I think Merigold could easily deduce from this is that this strange robed figure would not break the circle allowing you to cast spells, unless A, he didn't actually want to harm you at all, or B, he wanted to cast a spell on you from within the cell for some reason. So if he starts opening the door...
Past the barrier is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
then we're cool then.
Yeah.
I have a kinetic in case, but I'll save my exhausted strength in that case.
Yeah. Having broken the seal, he replaces the brick on the ground and runs a finger across the grout between them to make and when he's done, it looks like untouched, like the flagstones have been there as they have always been for years and years. And he then reaches into his cloak and pulls out something that shouldn't have been reasonably able to fit into his cloak while still being form-fitting to his extremely slender body. It is a perfect glass orb about this large, which you recognize as a clear stone, the most powerful tool for scrying available to mages. He puts his hand across the lattice and then pulls, causing a ring of the lattice to disappear in a shimmering circle, and holds out the clear stone towards you.
Wow, who is my hooded benefactor here? What color are Matthias's eyes? Just a quick question.
Cobalt blue.
Who is my hooded benefactor? Might I ask your name, good sir?
No.
Got him.
All right then. Thanks for the ball.
He's palming it like a like a basketball. Do you go over and take it from him?
Yeah, I'll just put my hand underneath it. So.
Sweet. He drops it. It is weighty. It is also incredibly translucent, where the refraction or what's the term I'm looking for? The ratio of refraction. It's how fast light moves through something. It's almost the same as oxygen. So it is you would have to be really, really looking in order for you to see this. And as a result, it's going to be pretty easy to hide it in your cell. But after dropping this, he closes the thing. And oh no, I'm sorry. He keeps it open and reaches into his cloak and also hands you a small like linen satchel with 8 wafers inside, like thin little crackers, basically. Having done this and having not explained the intention behind any of this, he closes the ring that he had opened in the lattice. There is a disgusting like metal grinding sound as he like lets the metal come back into existence. And you hear some guards murmuring down the hallway, and your like cellmate begins to stir, and the hooded figure puts his hands back into his sleeves, walks to the auspicious or like the mysterious corner of the room from which he had kind of melted out, and practically dissolves back into the shadows. A number of
good show.
A pair of guards come in, kind of swing the torch either way. They run their hands over the metal lattice work to see, like, did someone mess with this? And they look around, and after having determined nothing's wrong, they...
Do I recognize the guard, by the way? Has he been by before?
Yeah, there's a pretty consistent rotation, so this is a night guard who you've met before.
My good sir, could I please implore you for a flask of alcohol?
No.
It's like the 17th time I've asked this guard this.
Oh, in that case, he's probably stopped responding. He just, yep, he and his companion just like walk back down the hallway, and the flickering light retreats.
All right, I'm gonna turn to, is my cellmate awake? Not cellmate, but this dude. Chicken Bone.
Oh yes, yeah. Chicken Bone is awake.
I'm gonna say, all right, Chicken Bone, check this out. We got a demon to catch, along with its little servant. And I'm gonna cast Scry, and I'm gonna say, show me the demon that is bound to Greyson.
Oh shoot!
I don't
Got
even
him.
know where that is.
The fiery pits of the hells were not meant to be witnessed by mortal ken. And as the wandering eyes of a scrying mage peer into another world, the scrying ritual overtakes him completely. He falls into a trance, and collapses, eyes still locked on the clear stone that allows him to peer to such depths. And a thing with many, many swarming eyes, a many-formed thing with tentacles reaching out, pulling itself along a hallway that seems to be made of metal spikes, stops, and all of its eyes turn in the direction from which it is being witnessed. And the demon counter-scries.
Knew it! I knew it!
You feel the many eyes.
So happy.
You feel the many eyes of one of the accursed hellspawns settle on you as you fall unconscious from the second spell today to prove too much for a feeble human mind.
Oh, what?
The next day, William and Elway are discussing their plans for taking down blood magic as a practice throughout the Six Kingdoms. Alberth and Greyson each have a scant handful of alchemical mixtures and potions and materials. And their roommate Nell is thoroughly confused at the events of the previous night. And one of the brothers of Ochre, still planning his escape via sorcery and his carving of these bones, looks into the cell opposite him in this hallway. The figure of the strange mage is still collapsed, and one of its eyes has closed as if in sleep. However, the other eye is wide open. its iris still emblazoned in a red rune, the eye still pitch black, same as it became when the poor mage fell unconscious the night before. And that is where we'll leave them.
Dude.
Thank you guys for coming and watching this episode. Thank you, players, for playing. I've loved your sort of jail maneuvering and working with very little like equipment and apparatus, and with only certain options available to you. It suits you as a party. You've all acted brilliantly, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens next in the catacombs beneath the Grand Hall of Tel Meri. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week.